a question regarding sort of the interaction between the beneficiary and then the agency working on behalf of that person. The student writes, aid is really, in the student's perspective, aid is really only effective if the people are willing to accept it and participate in the change. How does CRS, or in your experience as a partner of CRS, reach those that are truly unwilling and unprepared, or unprepared? Did you not catch the question there? I can give it to you again.
Well, thank you for the question. If I understand it correctly, you know, first and foremost, the Africa needs more fair trade than it needs aid. If African goods, in terms of raw material and all the materials that are coming out of Africa, if the international community would pay a fair price for our goods, we will not need aid from anybody to survive, because the continent is rich enough. It's just that the trade is so unfair, and that is why very often we need this aid. Now, this aid comes in different forms. You have the aid that comes directly to government, and very often that aid is tied to certain rules and regulations that make it difficult for the aid to benefit the people. Now, that is different from the kind of aid that comes through NGOs like CRS and other non-governmental organizations. If, for instance, there is a serious conflict in an area, people are starving, government is part of the problem, government cannot support its people, then this kind of aid, the aid that comes in terms of food aid, and whatever, directly reaches to the people and helps the people from the NGOs. So I would say that it gets to the source of the people. Now, the question is, what kind of aid are we talking about? Now, if you say that I'm going to give you so much aid on condition that you open your markets. Now, I accept the aid as government because I need the money badly. I open up my market and then the international community comes in. My people are not prepared to compete. And so what your aid does is to kill the local economy and then leave the people worse off. But if you have aid that comes in and says, okay, these people are struggling to build a business for themselves, to build an industry where they can support themselves. The government loans are simply the interest rates are so high that nobody can take a loan and run a business with it. So we're going to run microfinance. That's a form of aid, but that is aid that helps the people, and nobody is going to reject this kind of aid. I come in, for instance, you raise pigs. You're raising 5 pigs. If I give you $1,000, you could increase that to 25 pigs. Now, I give you that money and you invest it, you are better off. So it depends on the type of aid. Sometimes when you have aid coming with strings tied to it, then it creates problems. Secondly, very often when the aid comes to government, the donor organization or the donor country knows very well that this government is dictatorial. Yeah, sorry, we lost the line. So I was saying that a lot depends on what kind of aid. If it's the aid that comes with strings, then it's problematic aid, because then the people are left worse off. But the Catholic Church in Ghana alone runs 60% of the educational system. So it means that without the Catholic Church, 60% of the population will not be educated. When our diocese was created, the Diocese of Damango, in 1995, in that area, women above 50 years and above, 98% illiteracy. Now, how can a community develop where 98% of the women are illiterate? So what did the bishop do? He immediately started a girls' boarding where girls are put together and they study. In 3 years, the first 15 in the entire district came from that school. Today there is a girls' high school and the first batch of girls are completing university this year. For some of those girls, they are the first in the entire village to go up to a higher institution. Now, can you imagine what these girls are going to become tomorrow? But this bishop coming from a small village, where would he have gotten the money to set up a high school for girls, to set up a house, a girls' boarding house, if not from support from the Catholic world? And that is where this solidarity business is very, very important. We've got a lot of support from the US, we've got a lot of support from Germany. And that is the kind of aid that builds a community. You just don't give them handouts, but you put in place a system. Now, many of these girls, when they complete university, they're going to work in the government system. And the difference each of those girls can make, especially in the African traditional system, where your family is not just limited to the nuclear family, but to the entire tribe. And we figured out that every year, if we put out 30 women who are well educated into the market, in 10 years, 300 women who have completed the university, man, is going to be a phenomenal social change. So again, a lot depends on what kind of aid. And in almost all these countries, agriculture, health, and education is practically run by the church. I am educated because of the missionaries. The northern part of Ghana was considered a non-productive area, and so it was a colonial policy to leave them illiterate. Canadian and American missionaries came, again, because of colonialism, the French missionaries could not come into Ghana. So we have to bring in missionaries from Canada and from the US. And they immediately started schools. They started the health system. Today you can find in one family 7 medical doctors. You have lawyers, you have teachers, you have nurses, and what have you. Education. And again, many of these missionaries sacrificed the comfort of their home to come and work. Their family members supported them. That is the kind of aid that builds. If you compare that to Ghana, for instance, Ghana was declared a highly indebted country. So basically what the international community said is, for so many years, you don't pay your debts. The money you have used to pay the debts, we give it to you, use it in your country. Now, you cannot blame the international community if the government of the day does not make use of this money for the development of the community. If you see what some of the politicians were using that fund for, to say the least, the best description for it is criminal. So if the aid comes and is not properly used to benefit the people, then what do you do?